Before we dive into today's episode, I want to speak to you not just as a senior, but as someone who has walked the path you are preparing for. The Briggspeak channel is not entertainment, it is not a shortcut, it is a mission, a serious effort to provide you with structured, focused content drawn from operations, hard earned lessons, and strategic reflection. But here's the truth we must acknowledge. If those preparing for DSSC do not show interest or engagement, this effort too will lose momentum. Each episode you see here takes hours of study, scripting, editing, and recording. What keeps us going is the belief that this helps someone on the other side think more clearly, prepare more wisely, and lead more decisively. But we only know it's helping if you tell us. Drop a comment, share a question, point out what helped or what we missed. That is how military functions through honest, timely feedback. That's how this channel will grow in value. So before you click away to skip ahead, ask yourself if this effort is worth preserving. If yes, then say it. That's all we ask. Now, let's begin today's lesson. Today's episode is a strategic checkpoint. We have covered number of episodes, out of which I will talk about first 10. Each episode answers questions you are likely to encounter in your DSSC entrance exam. Let me take you through them one by one and explain what question they answer and why you must watch them again now. We open with the big picture. What caused the war? How it evolved and how it ended. The key questions which this episode answers are: what were India's political and military objectives in this war? How did the war influence India's early doctrine and force deployment strategies? Coming on to EP2, which spoke about Junagadh, Hyderabad, and Kashmir, all three went through a sort of accession battle. This episode compares these three cases, all princely states, but with different outcomes. The key questions could be: why was India's approach different in Junagadh, Hyderabad, and Kashmir? What made Kashmir's accession unique and so politically sensitive? Mountain ranges of Jammu and Kashmir. Operations in J&K cannot be understood without its terrain. This episode maps out the operational landscape. The key questions could be: how did ranges like the Pir Panjal influence the conduct of operation? Why is knowledge of mountain geography essential for operational planning? Please note, knowing terrain means anticipating movement, supply, reinforcement, and even enemy intent. In episode 4, I have narrated a cultural episode but with operational value. It explores the legend of Kashmir's water formation. The key questions are: how do water bodies shape the strategic layout of the valley? In what ways do lakes, river, and floodplains influence defense plans? Episode 5 talks about terrain of Jammu and Kashmir, the integrated picture. Now that we have covered mountains and water separately, this episode integrates terrain analysis. The key questions it answers are: which terrain corridor became conflict hotspots? What role did river valleys and road networks play in shaping operations? Did Britain know Operation Gulmarg? This episode reveals intelligence gaps and possibly of external complicity. The key questions this episode answers are: did British officers in Pakistan Army know about Operation Gulmarg? What does this reveal about intelligence sharing between the allies post partition? Summary of early operation. This episode brings together the first critical responses: the landing of one Sikh, the fight at Badgam, the counterattack at Shalating, and the key questions: how was the airlift executed under pressure? What were the decisive moments in halting the tribal advance? Episode 8 explores the timing of Maharaja's accession and India's response. The key questions: was the Indian military response legal and timely? Could action have been taken earlier? In episode 9, we shift focus to southern theatre, Naushera, Jangad, and Punch. The key questions which are answered are: why was holding Jammu region crucial to the overall defense plan? What constraints did terrain and supply impose? In episode 10, we talk about surprise, termination, and non conventional operation. We studied doctrinal reflections on why did some operation abruptly stop? What role did irregular tactics and deception play? Can modern operation afford to ignore the lessons of Shalatan and Punch? What does surprise mean in semi-conventional operations? If we get an encouraging response, we will carry out a similar exercise for balance of the episodes and also continue with new topics. If you have stayed till now, you already know this is not a casual summary. It's a wake-up call. 10 episodes, each one built like a layer. Together, they form a strategic understanding of a war we will study and reference today. But none of it matters if it's consumed passively. We need you to engage, not for vanity, but for value. We don't need likes, we need insights. Drop one comment, just say, this helped clarify shalating, or can you do more on logistics and punch sector? That's how we adjust course. That's how we add value. Because if this feels one sided, then slowly, quietly, this initiative will pause. And that would be a loss, not for me, for you, and for everyone who still believes that military knowledge must be studied, not skimmed. So I say again, close the loop, engage, ask, suggest, correct. We will match your seriousness with deeper effort. The war ended in 1949, but your learning mission begins now. With this, I come to the end of today's episode. You're requested to please share, comment, and like. Keep working hard. Jai Hind.